What's up guys, and welcome to this review of Onward, the latest Pixar movie. So in this movie it's about two brothers who, in the past, their dad has sadly passed away, and they want to connect with him one last time, to say goodbye and to see what he was like, because one of them didn't even know him. So they go on this epic quest to try and bring back their dad for one day, just so they can say what they want to say and move on. And on the whole, what did I think of this? I think it's alright. I do think it's one of Pixar's worst films, but that's not to say it's bad by any means. It's not bad at all. But it's just not on the high levels of like the Toy Story films or like Monsters Inc. and stuff like that. But again, those are really high places to reach. So the fact that this is a goodish, decent, okay film, really quite impressive still. The story though, let's see. The worst thing I can say about this story is that the story is pretty generic. You can probably watch the trailer for this film and pinpoint beat for beat for beat what exactly happens in this film. It's so predictable, so unoriginal. The original element of this story, which I like quite a lot, was the fact that it is like a fantasy world, only it's been around so long that now they've got technology and gadgets and so on. It's fantasy if the fantasy was real, and now it's like the mid 2010s or whatever. So I like that, and how like the fantasy elements are now living in a modern world basically. That works really well, but that's just kind of the setup. It doesn't play into things too much. But the predictability of this film, while being a downside, I don't think is a big issue, because at the end of the film there are emotional elements and character moments that still work really well. So the fact that you could see them coming doesn't really matter much, because they still work really well. They still got emotion from me. And that's one of the highlights of this film I want to praise, is the emotion of elements of it. There is an emotional undercurrent in there which I think will resonate with a lot of viewers. Now, it's about, of course, trying to rekindle and connect with your dad, who is trying to move on from loss and death and so on, but also telling you to look at what you've actually got in your life. So, focusing on the brothers in particular. Now the problem for me is I'm a lonely child, so that side of things probably didn't resonate as well for me as it should have. So I don't know what it's like to have a brother. That was lost on me a bit. But I kind of get it. But yeah, the story is on the generic side, which is a little disappointing, but it's not a huge deal. As for the jokes element of this is a Pixar film, so you can expect to have a lot of emotion in the story, as well as a big quest or something that they go on, which there is a big quest to go on, but mixed in with jokes and humour to make it much more accessible for everyone. So the jokes are really hit and miss, I think. Some of them work really well, some of them just don't work at all. And there's a recurring joke about the pants, and the way they utilise the pants is kind of ingenious at times. The fact that, I say the pants, it's the lower body of their dad, because they do a spell to try and bring him back, but they can only get half his body there, which is why they go on the quest to try and get the rest. And the way they use the pants, they make this pants and lower body so much of a character in its own right, even though he never speaks. That's impressive. But yeah, the jokes are hit and miss. Some work, some don't. I don't think there's anything in here that's really like laugh out loud hilarious, but then I don't think it's trying to be laugh out loud hilarious. There are big epic fantasy elements in there, there are big quest elements that they go on. So they go on this journey which has lots of different routes, lots of stop-bys. There's this tavern like area, it's very based on like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons sort of things, and RPG video games like Skyrim and Witcher and stuff like that. So you get like these fantastical creatures and elements on there, only they're kind of twisted and turned to be like, right, what would they be like in the modern day? And some of them are really quite smart and funny. So for example, there's like fairy characters who are now in a biker gang of sorts, and it's really weird but it's really unique, and then it works really well basically. So to speak about the characters a bit more, the two main characters are very endearing, Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. So their relationship works really well. The problem though is that Tom Holland's character is your very typical like nerdy, geeky, awkward guy who doesn't really know how to speak to people very well. He's kind of shy and locked into himself. We've seen that character type before. Then you've got Chris Pratt's character, who's kind of the doofus big brother, who's a bit reckless at times and so on. Again, a character type. And that's the problem here, is that these two characters, while very likable, very relatable, are stereotypes. And yet they've got the fantastical elements. They are like elves, so that sets them apart a little bit. But again, the fact that the story and the characters aren't all that original doesn't matter too much because they are likable, we do relate to them, and the story works in the end. We get the emotion from them, and the performances from Tom Holland and Chris Pratt are really good. Perfectly casting, I would say, as well. Tom Holland is great as like this awkward teenager. He's done that before in Spider-Man. Chris Pratt is great as like the doofus, goofy big brother. He's done that before in like Parks and Recreation. So that they are playing a type here as well in that regard. But the animation in this, it's a Pixar film, so the animation is like top notch. I do think it's below like the standard of like Toy Story. There are moments when they use lighting in this which are absolutely amazing. The use of lighting in the Pixar movies recently is great and unparalleled by other studios. But yeah, visually I don't think there's too much here that's visually stands out compared to like the recent Toy Story movie or anything like that. I do think it has a much more of a generic animation look. But that's not a bad thing because it is Pixar and it's still a great animation studio and it's some of the best animation you'll ever see. But yeah, I'm not going to go into spoilers, so just to round this up, Onward I think is a good, okay Pixar movie. There's a lot to like in here, a great emotional story, characters who are likable and relatable, good performances across the board. The jokes mostly work. Sometimes they aren't getting as high as they should and sometimes they don't work at all, but they are in the middle somewhere, so that's fine. But yeah, animation's great, just not as good as some of their previous stuff. I like this film and I do think you should probably consider seeing it because I think most people will go into this walking out with tears in their eyes and having had a good time. So yeah, if you've liked this review, subscribe to my channel to get more content like this, and of course follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton. You can also go on to Letterboxd where you can get my full written review of whatever I'm doing whenever I have the time to do it. I'm not writing a written review for this film, but I'd have ranked it on Letterboxd. 3 stars I gave it there. Not going to say what I'm going to be giving films in the future. You have to go on Letterboxd to check that out. Until next time though, thanks for watching.